In this example, we are going to be trying to find the dy dx, which means we're trying to find the slope of this equation. All right, so there's two things we're going to do. We're going to find the slope equation, aka we're going to find y prime or f prime. All right, and then we're going to be using that to figure out what the tangent line is at a particular point. All right, so let's find the equation and then we'll do some math. So our second part of this is that part B is going to be when we're finding the tangent line, we're going to be doing this. So let me just kind of set it up. X minus x1. And we have our coordinate. There's our x and our x1 and y1, but we just don't know the slope. That's where this comes in. So, so for part A, we need to find the slope equation. So to find the slope equation, just learned that on the last video that we're going to be doing the limit. And this is how you find it using limits. So f of x plus h minus f of x divided by h. All right, so here we go. Limit. H goes to 0. So we're going to take that and sub it into our equation. And so that means we're going to have the square root of x plus h, and then minus the original. And then that's all going to be over h. All right. So right now, if we were plug in 0 into these x's, into the h, you'd have the square root of x minus the square root of x. So you get a 0 over a 0, which is a whole. Limit exists. We need to do some math. We need to do some math in order to adjust this. Right. So anytime you got a square root, we're going to multiply by its conjugate. And what we're not going to do is we're going to distribute the top, but we are not going to distribute the bottom. Right. So there's our conjugate, square root of x plus h plus the square root of x. And then we're going to be multiplying the bottom, same thing. Right. So we have that one times that one, which is going to be x plus, hold on, still need my limit. Limit as h goes to 0. And we're going to have perfect square out of that. So that's just going to cancel. The square roots will cancel and just become that. And then we'll have it times this one. So plus the square root of x times the square root of x plus h. And then we distribute these two together, which is going to be a minus the square root of x times the square root of x plus h. And that's the idea. The conjugate does that every time. Minus the square root of x times square root of x, which is just a minus x, divided by h. So a little messy. But what should happen right here is a lot of cleanup should happen. So those will go away. Perfect. That's the conjugate did that. And then you had an x canceling with the negative x. So you really just end up happening, oops, let's put the bottom in there. X plus h plus square root of x. Right? And then what you should just have is just an h on the top. Anything without an h should be going away. All right, so we have an h over h times this conjugate piece plus h plus square root of x, and then the h's go away. Okay, so the h's go away. Perfect, because that was our 0 over 0, which now leaves us with the limit as h goes to 0 of a 1 over what's ever left on the bottom, x plus h plus square root of x. And we're ready to plug in. So we're going to now plug in 0 into this. So we can drop the limit because we're plugging in our 0, and we have a 1 over square root of x plus the square root of x. That 0 goes away. We're left with that, which becomes 1 over, we can combine our like terms, 2 square roots of x. And that is our slope equation. And that was what we were looking to find. We wanted to find our slope equation, and that is that. Perfect. All right, so part B was find the tangent line at that point and at that point. Well, we need a slope. That's the only piece that we were missing. So we now have a slope equation that if our x equals 4, then what is the slope at 4? Well, we just plug it right in. So 1 over 2 times square root of 4, that's going to be 1 over 2 times 2 is 1/4. Perfect. So what is our equation, our tangent line? It's going to be y minus our y1, which is 2, equals our slope, 1/4, and then x minus our x value of 4. So we can distribute y minus 2 equals 1/4 x minus 1, add 2, y equals 1/4 x plus 1. All right, and what I would do is to check this is I would graph that equation, plot that point, and then create that tangent line. And that tangent line should perfectly go through this point and be tangent to that graph at that point, right? Things should line up perfectly. And that was us finding initially the slope equation and then using that to find our tangent line at a particular point for that square root graph.